Super Mario, Legend of Zelda. Randomly I'm saying 2 games out of the 3,000 games available in the database. Nintendo, Game Boy, arcades, these are consoles that the 80s and 90s generation remember pretty well. Bringing some great old memories back or exploring what your parents used to play before the PC gaming era, packed into this $45 Chinese device. A must-see. Welcome to the Tech for All YouTube channel. My name is Michael, and here we inspect cool tech. Being not a too passionate gamer myself, this review took me longer than usual because I had to use some external consultants. You're certainly going to recognize Mr. Super Tony from the awesome Kindle Paperwhite review, and this is a guy that likes gaming, Super Lubo. There's no way for me to show you all the available games here, but I can point to a link with a list to all of them in the description somewhere below the video. Essentially, this is a device with a smartphone form factor and a smaller display so that you can get all these buttons and controls that make it look like a gamepad or a console. Here's the box, quite a basic assembly. Since there's no reputable or big brand behind such a device, it's normal to see some corners cut. It's meant to be a variation or improved version of the ultra-popular RS-97, and we can characterize it with one word: retro. Not just the games. Turning it around, you're gonna see it is powered by a Nokia phone battery. I believe nowadays even the phones with replaceable batteries like that device are considered as retro. So let's take a closer look at the box. Nothing fancy, some thin cardboard underneath which you can get the handheld game console, a user guide with a spec sheet, charging cable and a TV connection cable. Yes, you can connect that thing to your TV and play all the games on a large screen. 2 things to note: uses analog connection, so there's no HDMI port or something similar, and most of the games that are developed for these platforms have been designed in times where full HD resolution was rather a theoretical thing, so do not expect the fanciest graphics in the world. And if you have played these games on one of the good old arcade machines, don't worry, it's not going to ask you for real coins, and it's gonna feel quite nice. Has the size of a smartphone, so it's rather pocket size, and actually is built on something like that. 16 gigs of internal storage, seems to be running its own operating system, which is very lightweight. I found no exact information about CPU and RAM. Based on the complexity of these games, it's likely nothing too powerful. Let's switch it on. As you can see, the procedure takes only a few seconds, and then you go right into the games section. Before showing the config options, let's have a quick look at the main section called Game Rooms. CPS. These are arcade games by Capcom, Captain Commando, Punisher, and you would be surprised by the list. Neo Geo, Game Boy, this is what GBA stands for, SFC with the Super Mario series, MD for Sega Mega Drive, GBC is Game Boy Color, Sega Master System games, GG and GB. Each one of these has an icon which is supposed to orient you which platform you're about to scroll through. Because there is no keyboard, you have to be scrolling up and down, and you're gonna have to know the game that you're looking for. I see this as the main disadvantage, especially for people whose memories about these games are not too fresh or simply don't know well the platforms. You can scroll up and down using either the arrow keys, which are moving one line at a time, or using the L and R buttons on the top, which scroll through the next page. So for the consoles with not too many games, the arrows are fine. But if you have to find a game from a list with a few hundred entries and titles, and that one starts with the letter N, it may take a while. And yeah, the order is kind of weird. First are the most popular titles, and then things go in direction alphabetical. Really, finding the game can sometimes be a little tricky, so if there's a disadvantage to consider, that would be it. Concerning the gameplay, I won't say it is awesome, it's rather good. Button placement is fine, feels like average quality joystick. There's not much of ergonomic design, but I believe that for our generation, it's something we came along with pretty well. The joystick on the left is kind of annoying, and I'd use such for more precise movement, which is not often a demand on these retro games. Funny enough, it's not even listed on the user manual, so could be a late addition. Usability is questionable though. At any point of time, you can press the power button, which besides pausing the event, gives you a nice menu to change the settings, remap the buttons or archive, or simply quit. Now, let's have a look at a few things that you can fine-tune in order to improve the gameplay. There's brightness control. This is retro game and it's not as user-friendly as a modern smartphone, so the screen is not touch, and you have to go through a few menus in order to change the settings and fine-tune it. Or you can use the top button, which is programmed to switch between these modes, and is also missing from the user guide. A bunch of languages is supported, not all of them, but the major European and Asian languages are there. Backlight options and sound settings, which can just switch the schematic of sounds. Control happens from this thing on the side. To my dear younger subscribers and viewers, let me explain that back in time, these analog volume knobs were the way we were controlling the volume, and that kind of summarizes the feeling of being retro. I like the fact that the cage is semi-transparent. Immediately reminds me of some of the best videos done by Zach on his Jerry Rig Everything channel. This device would certainly not pass the bend test, but is very suitable for carrying in a pocket, so make sure to be careful. The AV out is an awesome feature. If it doesn't work, you have to manually configure that from the settings. And here's the thing that we, and I say we because my dear friends Super Lubo and Super Tony also tested in parallel, we praised the feature because the AV outputs in 16:9 aspect ratio. Most of these games are designed to be at 4:3 because of the kind of monitors that we used back in the 90s, and the widescreens have become more popular at a later stage, so the footage on the screen looks actually good. Because of the low price, the cable included is almost useless, too short, around a meter, looks pretty weak, and getting a proper 2 to 3 meter long AV RCA cable could come handy. I think playing on the TV is way more fun, but the small screen is also entertaining enough. I want to finish like that. An awesome device for grown-up kids and for curious youngsters. For that price, it's a steal. A big thanks to TomTop for sending over this testing sample. It's a thing that made me smile and brought so many delightful memories back, and you can find a coupon code to get it with a discount. Would you now take a moment, please, and tell me, when seeing the review, which was the first game that you thought of? Comment with the title below and feel free to share anything else that you want to. I'll put a list with most of the games available in the description below the video. Thank you for being my guest. Perhaps staying that long is a good indication that you better subscribe and stay in touch with other cool tech. I'm Michael and we'll welcome you back in the next episode. Cheers!